Night settles over the Ardennes like a heavy curtain, thick with the scent of damp earth and gun oil. A thin winter moon hangs above the shattered tree line, its pale light trembling against the drifting mist. The world is quiet, too. Quiet for men who have lived months, listening for the snap of branches, the cough of engines, the distant growl of tanks. Obergefreiter Lukas. Brandt presses his back against the frozen trunk of a blasted pine. His breath escapes in small ghosts. His fingers, cracked and raw beneath torn gloves, clutch a field journal stained with mud and fear. He holds it close, as if the thin paper inside might warm him. It doesn't. In the darkness beyond him, something moves. Not infantry boots, not panzer tracks. A rumble, low, smooth, rolling. American artillery. He can feel it before he hears it, an almost living vibration in the ground, like an enormous heart beating somewhere deep beneath the soil. The Germans call it der Eiserne Hammer, the iron hammer, but the Americans call it something far simpler. They call it routine fire. Lucas swallows hard, tasting metal and cold. He remembers British shells, loud, punishing, but distant, predictable. He remembers Soviet barrages, wild storms of steel, terrifying but undisciplined, like a drunken god throwing lightning. But this American rhythm, it feels measured, patient, inevitable. A soft whistle cuts the night. Then another. Then the sky turns white. The first shell lands half a kilometer away, but the concussion hits like a giant hand slapping the air. Snow leaps from the ground in blinding plumes. Trees crack apart like bones. Lucas instinctively drops to his knees, covering his head as the second impact follows. Perfectly, too perfectly, as if the artillerymen had sketched their calculations into the earth with mathematical cruelty. Amerikaner, someone whispers beside him. The word is barely a sound, barely a breath. Lucas doesn't need to look to know the man's eyes are wide, reflecting the hellfire blooming along the ridge. Because this is the fear every soldier on this front knows. American artillery doesn't hunt you. It finds you. Dawn comes reluctantly, dragging a pale, bruised light across the sky. Smoke clings to the forest like a damp shroud. The shelling has stopped, but the ringing in Lucas's ears has not. When he lifts his head, snowflakes land softly on his helmet. Tiny, cold blessings that do nothing to steady his trembling hands. Around him, the remnants of his unit gather in halting movements, their bodies stiff from fear more than cold. Boots crunch through broken branches. Someone coughs, a wet rattle. Someone else mutters a prayer. And then, through the mist, the silhouettes appear. American soldiers, tall shapes moving in disciplined lines. Rifles lowered but ready. Their boots are clean compared to the Germans' mud-caked ones. Their winter coats look thick enough to sleep in. Every detail stings Lucas's eyes like insult wrapped in envy. Keine Bewegung. A sergeant warns, though the warning is unnecessary. The Germans raise their hands slowly, palms open to the sky. The surrender feels like an exhale they've been holding for months. Lucas feels something inside him crack, not loudly, not visibly but quietly, like a thin piece of ice giving way beneath a heavy step. They are searched, lined up, counted. The Americans speak quickly, almost casually. Their accents are strange, round, warm, almost musical. Propaganda had painted them as crude, violent, greedy. But these men, they look almost bored, almost gentle. Yet Lucas senses an underlying power in their movements, a confidence that doesn't need shouting. The same calm precision he felt in the artillery barrage now exists here. In their eyes, their gestures, their unhurried commands. Hours later, the prisoners are loaded into the back of a truck. The canvas top flaps in the wind. Diesel fumes mix with the earthy smell of damp wool coats. As the engine coughs to life, Lucas glances back at the forest, its torn branches, its scarred snow, the faint crater smoke curling into the sky like the last breath of a dying world. He tightens his grip on his journal. In his mind, a quiet confession rises. If they fight like this, what else have they hidden from us? The journey ends with the groan of brakes and a hiss of cold morning air. When the canvas flap is pulled aside, Lucas squints into a sunlight so clean it almost hurts. The prisoners climb down stiffly, boots touching unfamiliar ground, flat, open, untouched by war. No craters, no ruins, no scorched trees clawing at the sky. America, not the monster painted in newspapers, not the decadent wasteland lecturers warned them about, just quiet. A guard points them toward a long wooden barracks. The boards are straight, unscarred by shrapnel. The roof is intact. The windows actually have glass. Lucas touches the wall as he passes, smooth, warm from the sun. It feels unreal, like stepping into another life. Inside, the air smells faintly of soap and heated metal. Clean, too. Clean for men who have slept in dirt for months. They move hesitantly like intruders. A row of bunks waits for them, blankets folded neatly, corners crisp. A pitcher of water sits on a table, beads of condensation sliding slowly down its side. Lucas stares at the blankets. Gray wool, thick, almost luxurious. He waits for the trick, for the cruelty, for the outburst of violence that propaganda promised. But instead, an American corporal steps forward with an awkward smile, gestures to a wooden crate, and says slowly, in accented German, "Soap, towels, you wash, yes, good. Soap." The word feels foreign in Lucas's ears, dangerous, tempting. He reaches the crate last, hand hovering. The bar he picks up is heavy, smooth, a muted ivory color. When he brings it to his nose, the scent is shockingly gentle, something floral, something warm. His throat tightens. In the corner, another prisoner rubs his thumb across his own bar of soap, whispering, "Es riecht wie zu Hause." It smells like home. Washing basins line the back wall. Steam rising from warm water. Warm. Lucas dips his fingers in, and the heat spreads through him like forgiveness he hasn't earned. He feels his eyes sting. Not from the soap, not from the steam, but from the unbearable truth beginning to take shape. The enemy's first blow of kindness hurts more than any shell. The mess hall smells like another world, one Lucas thought no longer existed. Warm bread, real coffee, meat sizzling on hot metal. The aromas rise in soft waves through the long room, mingling with the faint sweetness of corn and something richer, heavier, butter. He hasn't smelled butter in months. The prisoners move in a slow, hesitant line. Their boots echo on the wooden floor. Everywhere light spills through high windows, bright enough to reveal every nervous swallow, every trembling hand. When Lucas reaches the counter, a woman in a white apron, an American, volunteer with soft lines, around her eyes, looks at him and smiles. Not mockingly, not triumphantly, just kindly. "Eat up," she says, sliding a plate toward him. The plate is warm. On it sits a slab of meatloaf, thick as his fist. A spoonful of mashed potatoes, smooth as fresh snow. Vegetables so bright they almost glow. Peas like tiny green beads. Carrots cut into perfect coins. A soft roll rests on the side, steam escaping from its center as he picks it up. The smell hits him like a memory of childhood. He sits, slowly, as if the bench might vanish beneath him. Other prisoners stare at their own plates with the same stunned reverence. For a moment the room is silent, except for the hum of ceiling fans and the distant clatter of utensils. Then someone whispers, "Zu viel, it's too much." Lucas lifts the fork. His hand shakes. He tries to hide it, but the tremor grows worse. The first bite is small, almost timid. But the taste, rich, salty, warm, real. His eyes close. He chews slowly, trying to swallow not just the food, but the ache building behind his ribs. Around him, men begin to eat in quiet disbelief, some fast, some cautiously, as if afraid they'll be punished for it. A few wipe their eyes with the backs of their hands, pretending it's just the steam. Lucas writes one sentence in his journal after the meal. "The Americans feed us like men. I do not know how to feel about that." And underneath, barely legible, "This abundance is more frightening than their artillery." The next revelation arrives not with food, nor with warmth, but with something far more disarming: dignity. It happens 3 days after their arrival. The prisoners are lined up outside the administrative hut, breath forming pale clouds in the morning chill. American guards move along the line, checking names on clipboards. The sun hangs low, a thin golden blade cutting through the crisp air. When Lucas's turn comes, the sergeant, an older man with silver threading, his hair, peers at his dog tag and frowns. "You're missing a button," he says, pointing at Lucas's tunic. Lucas stiffens. Instinct tells him to brace for humiliation. Some harsh remark about German incompetence or filth. But instead, the sergeant reaches into his pocket, pulls out a small tin, flips it open, and reveals a handful of buttons, brown, black brass, all neatly organized. He chooses one that matches Lucas's tunic and offers it to him. "Here, fix it when you get a chance." Lucas blinks. "Warum? Why would you?" The sergeant shrugs. A soldier should look like a soldier. War's messy enough. The words strike Lucas like a thrown stone, but not in violence. In bewilderment. Across the yard, another American guard helps a prisoner adjust his bandaged hand. A young GI kneels to tie the bootlace of a man too frostbitten to bend down. Someone hands out cigarettes, not as reward, not as leverage, just as a simple gesture offered from one human being to another. Every act is small, but the smallness is exactly what makes it so devastating. Propaganda had promised hatred, punishment, vengeance. But here, decency is casual, unthinking, woven into the routine like sweeping floors or folding blankets. That night, Lucas writes, "They treat us with a kind of respect I don't know how to carry. The kindness feels heavier than chains." He pauses before adding, "If they screamed at us, it would be easier." This makes me remember we are human, and remembering hurts. The lamps dim, the barracks fall quiet, but Lucas lies awake long after the others sleep, turning the small, brown button in his fingers, its edges warm from his touch, wondering how something so ordinary can feel so unbearable. The next shock arrives not through taste or touch, but through sight. It happens on a transport day. A group of prisoners, including Lucas, is marched to a nearby work detail. The guards walk beside them at an easy pace, rifles slung casually, as if danger itself is a distant concept. The winter sun glows soft and pale overhead, warming the frost-kissed fields. For the first time since crossing the ocean, Lucas truly sees America. Houses, intact, whole, dot the landscape like quiet promises. Their roofs are straight, unbroken. Their windows gleam in the sunlight instead of gaping like blackened wounds. Smoke curls lazily from chimneys, carrying the scent of burning wood. Warm bread and a peace he can almost taste. No ruins, no rubble, no women sifting through bombed-out walls searching for photographs. No children with soot on their faces. Just normalcy. A small boy stands in a yard as they pass. He holds a red ball under one arm, cheeks flushed, scarf flapping in the cold breeze. For a moment he simply stares at the prisoners. Then he raises his free hand and waves. Waves. Lucas stops walking without meaning to. The guard nudges him gently to keep moving. The boy's mother emerges from the porch, calling him inside. She glances at the prisoners with a quiet, assessing expression. Not fear, not hatred, just curiosity, and then ushers her child in. The door closes with the soft click of a home that has never known collapse. As the column continues, Lucas's fellow prisoner, Dieter, whispers, "Meine Frau." My wife wrote that our street is gone, flattened, burned, and here, look at this place, as if the war is thousands of miles away. Lucas doesn't answer. His throat is tight, his chest aching with a complicated mixture of relief and envy. They pass a small orchard. Trees stand evenly spaced, their branches bare but unbroken. Beyond them, a windmill turns slowly, creaking like an old friend humming a familiar tune. The sight is hypnotic. Peace, stability, a world untouched. It is beautiful and unbearable. That night, Lucas writes in his journal, "To see a country without scars is to feel your own more deeply."